The United Kingdom is one of the most heavily surveilled countries in the world, with approximately 1 camera for every 14 people, second only to China. While the widespread use of surveillance and facial recognition technology has sparked debates about privacy and ethics, there are times when these tools play a crucial role in uncovering and solving horrifying crimes. One such case is the tragic disappearance and murder of Sarah Everard, a 33-year-old woman whose story shook the nation in March 2021. On the evening of March 3, 2021, Sarah Everard was walking home in South London after visiting a friend's house. It was a routine walk that she had taken countless times before, but on this night, Sarah never made it home. At around 9:30 p.m., her movements suddenly stopped being recorded by CCTV cameras, marking the chilling moment of her abduction. Sarah's family and friends quickly raised the alarm when they couldn't reach her. The Metropolitan Police launched an extensive investigation, combing through thousands of hours of CCTV footage from various locations in South London and beyond. What they uncovered pieced together a chilling timeline of events. CCTV cameras, doorbell cameras, and even dashcams became invaluable in tracking Sarah's movements and identifying the person responsible for her disappearance. Footage from doorbell cameras captured Sarah walking along the streets near her friend's home, providing critical timestamps. However, the trail abruptly ended along South Circular Road at approximately 9:30 p.m. The breakthrough came from a passing bus equipped with onboard cameras. These cameras recorded a pivotal moment, Sarah standing beside a white rental car, with its hazard lights flashing. The footage also captured the car's license plate, which led investigators to an unsettling discovery. The license plate was traced back to Wayne Cousins, a serving officer with the Metropolitan Police. Cousins had rented the car shortly before Sarah's disappearance. This damning evidence, combined with additional CCTV footage showing Cousins purchasing supplies from gas stations and stores in the days following Sarah's abduction, painted a horrifying picture. Further investigations revealed that Cousins had abused his position as a police officer to deceive Sarah. He staged a fake arrest, claiming she had violated COVID-19 restrictions, and used this pretense to handcuff her and force her into the rental car. A combination of witness statements and surveillance footage confirmed this sinister act. Despite these significant findings, Sarah herself was still missing. After days of searching, authorities finally located her remains on March 10, 2021, in a wooded area near Ashford, Kent, more than 50 miles from where she had been abducted. The search team also uncovered items belonging to Sarah, further tying Cousins to the crime. Cousins was swiftly arrested and charged with Sarah's kidnapping and murder. In court, he admitted to his heinous crimes. The judge sentenced him to life imprisonment, with a whole life order, meaning he will never be eligible for parole. This rare sentence reflects the gravity of his actions and the abuse of power he wielded to commit such an atrocious crime. With the extensive network of surveillance cameras across London, this case might have been solved. Professor David Wilson, an expert in criminology at Birmingham City University, emphasized that while CCTV technology has its flaws, it was instrumental in this investigation. The outdoor nature of the crime made surveillance tools particularly effective in tracing Sarah's last movements and linking Cousins to her disappearance. From doorbell cameras to bus dashcams and security cameras at gas stations, each piece of footage helped create a timeline of events. This mosaic of evidence provided a clear trail that led investigators directly to the perpetrator. Sarah Everard's case sparked outrage and grief across the United Kingdom and beyond. It highlighted issues of women's safety, police accountability, and the societal changes needed to protect individuals from such horrific crimes. Public vigils were held in her memory, and her name became a symbol of the fight against violence toward women. While the widespread use of surveillance raises important questions about privacy, this case underscores how such technology can be a powerful tool in solving crimes and delivering justice. The tragic story of Sarah Everard is a reminder of the dangers that women face daily and the systems that must be in place to protect them. While no amount of justice can undo the pain caused by her loss, the tireless work of investigators and the crucial role of CCTV ensured that her killer was held accountable. Sarah's memory continues to inspire calls for safer streets, stricter regulations, and meaningful change, ensuring that her story will never be forgotten. In the early hours of September 29, 2012, 46-year-old Shauna Tia tragically lost her life while walking home after finishing her late-night shift as a cocktail server at the Palms Casino Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. The person who physically ended her life was Noel Scott Stevens, a homeless handyman with a criminal record. However, as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a far more sinister and shocking plot involving Shauna's husband, George Miguel Tia. The case unraveled thanks to critical CCTV footage that painted a chilling picture of betrayal, greed, and premeditation. Shauna clocked out of her shift at precisely 3:01 a.m., a moment confirmed by surveillance cameras at the casino. She was walking home to her townhouse, a route she had likely taken many times before, but on this night, she would never make it. Her life was brutally taken by Stevens in what initially appeared to be a random act of violence. However, as law enforcement began piecing together evidence, it became clear that this was no random crime. CCTV footage and call records revealed a calculated plan, masterminded by none other than Shauna's husband, George. Investigators unearthed explosive video evidence that tied George and Stevens together. Surveillance footage from a nearby Walmart showed the two men shopping together shortly before the crime. They were seen purchasing dark clothing and a weapon, clearly preparing for something sinister. In another video, from several weeks earlier, the pair was caught at a different store, buying gloves and other suspicious supplies. These chilling images began to link George directly to the crime, suggesting premeditation and collaboration. Phone records further cemented the connection. Investigators discovered that George had called Stevens 87 times in the month leading up to the crime. According to Stevens, George had offered him $5,000 to carry out the attack, a sum the handyman desperately needed. During his court testimony, Stevens described how George had orchestrated every detail, even staging a break-in at Shauna's townhouse 3 weeks earlier, to make the eventual crime appear as a random robbery. The motive behind George's heinous plan was as shocking as the crime itself. Shauna had recently informed him that she wanted a divorce. George, fearful of losing his assets, became consumed by jealousy and anger. He had faced significant financial struggles in recent years, particularly after losing money during the housing market crash, which further fueled his desperation. Instead of facing a divorce, George chose the unthinkable, to end his wife's life. Shauna's family, particularly her sister, immediately suspected George's involvement. They knew about his controlling behavior and growing resentment toward Shauna. As the investigation continued, Stevens testified that George had meticulously planned every step of the crime. In court, Stevens repeatedly implicated George, referring to him as the mastermind behind the operation. In a pointed comment, George's defense attorney described Stevens as a zombie parrot for his constant repetition of George's name, but the evidence spoke for itself. One of the most damning moments during the trial came when prosecutors presented the security footage of George and Stevens shopping for supplies. This visual evidence left little room for doubt about George's role in the crime. It became clear to the jury that George had manipulated Stevens into carrying out his twisted plan, believing he could hide behind the handyman's actions. Ultimately, George Miguel Tia was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. Stevens, who cooperated with authorities, also faced justice for his role in the crime. Despite his testimony against George, his participation in the act could not be overlooked. The case serves as a grim reminder of how deeply betrayal can cut. Shauna, a hard-working and well-liked member of her community, had been the victim of an unthinkable plot, orchestrated by someone she trusted. Shauna's tragic death shocked those who knew her. She was known not only for her kindness but also for her dedication to her work. Her husband, George, who had been regarded as a respected firefighter, West Point graduate, and former member of the Army Corps of Engineers, was revealed to be a man capable of unimaginable cruelty. The pivotal role of security footage in this case cannot be overstated. Without the CCTV clips showing George and Stevens together, shopping for supplies and preparing for the crime, it might have been much harder to link George to the murder. These videos provided irrefutable evidence of his involvement, ensuring that justice was served. While George was once praised as a hero within the firefighting community, his actions exposed the darkness that lay beneath him. In the end, it was the combined efforts of investigators, witness testimonies, and critical surveillance footage that brought the truth to light, ensuring that Shauna's killer and the man who orchestrated the crime were held accountable for their actions. CCTV footage played a pivotal role in uncovering the harrowing case of Hannah Graham, an 18-year-old University of Virginia student who disappeared in the early morning hours of September 13, 2014. Tragically, her remains were not found until 6 weeks later, on October 24, when they were discovered on an abandoned property outside of Charlottesville, the city where she attended school. This chilling case, however, only came to light because of the meticulous work of investigators and the vital surveillance footage captured throughout Charlottesville. On the night of her disappearance, Hannah had been at a party with friends, enjoying a typical evening. However, as the night progressed, she became separated from her group and ended up wandering alone. CCTV cameras in the area captured key moments of her movements, creating a timeline that would later become crucial to understanding what had happened. At 12:46 a.m., Hannah was first seen walking past McGrady's pub on Charlottesville's downtown pedestrian mall. The footage shows her stumbling, a detail that indicated she might have been intoxicated or disoriented. Just 9 minutes later, a gas station camera captured her running, although the reason for this sudden movement remains unclear. By 1:06 a.m., another camera picked her up walking past a pizza parlor. Despite being lost, Hannah continued sending text messages to her friends, explaining her situation. The final text she sent was at 1:20 a.m. The investigation took a disturbing turn when detectives noticed footage showing Hannah in the company of another individual. Surveillance cameras at the pizza parlor captured a man, later identified as Jesse Matthew, observing Hannah as she passed by. In the video, Matthew can be seen turning around and following her. The most chilling footage came shortly after, showing Matthew walking alongside Hannah with his arm around her waist. This would be the last confirmed sighting of her alive. Jesse Matthew, who worked as a hospital orderly, quickly became the prime suspect. After identifying him, authorities launched a manhunt, which ended with his arrest on a beach in Texas, over 1,300 miles from where Hannah was last seen. Matthew was charged with abduction with intent to defile, among other charges, in connection to Hannah's disappearance. In court, Hannah's mother, Susan Graham, recounted the painful experience of watching the surveillance footage. She described the moment with raw emotion. "We saw what evil looks like," she said, referring to how Matthew had hunted her daughter. It was clear from the footage that Matthew had been preying on Hannah, turning what seemed like a chance encounter into a calculated crime. As investigators delved deeper into Matthew's background, an even darker pattern began to emerge. He had a history of violent behavior, including multiple accusations of assaulting women. The case took another grim twist when forensic evidence from Matthew was matched to DNA found during the investigation of a separate case, the 2009 disappearance of Morgan Dana Harrington, a 20-year-old Virginia Tech student. Harrington had vanished after attending a Metallica concert, and her remains were found just 5 miles from where Hannah's body was discovered. The connection between the two cases was undeniable. Matthew had been responsible for not just one, but 2 horrific crimes. The revelations about his past and his role in both tragedies shocked the community and reinforced the importance of surveillance technology in piecing together critical details. In the end, Matthew was sentenced to 4 life terms in prison for the abduction and murders of Hannah Graham and Morgan Harrington. The use of CCTV footage proved to be instrumental in solving these cases, shedding light on what had happened, and ensuring that justice was served. What began as a tragic mystery involving one missing student ultimately led to the resolution of 2 cases, highlighting the crucial role that surveillance cameras can play in uncovering the truth. Hannah's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers that can lurk in seemingly ordinary situations, but it also underscores the power of persistence, technology, and community in bringing perpetrators to justice. On January 1, 2023, 39-year-old Anna Walshe vanished under mysterious circumstances from her home in Cohasset, Massachusetts, U.S. Her husband, 47-year-old Brian Walshe, did not report her disappearance for 4 days. Even then, he informed her co-workers instead of the police, sparking suspicion and casting him as the prime suspect in a case filled with alarming twists. Anna, originally from Serbia, had moved to the United States at the age of 25. After her move, she began working at the Wheatley Hotel in Massachusetts. It was during her time cleaning apartments there that she met Brian. The two quickly fell in love and got married. At the time of her disappearance, Anna was employed by Tishman Speyer, a prominent real estate firm based in Washington, D.C. Due to her job, Anna often traveled between Washington and Cohasset. Sometimes, she stayed in Washington, where she owned property and kept a vehicle. New Year's Eve 2022 appeared to be a joyous occasion for Anna and her family. She celebrated at home with friends and loved ones, reportedly in good spirits. A family member noted she spent much of the evening seated at a bar stool, happily sending celebratory texts to friends. At midnight, they rang in the new year together. However, just hours later, at around 4 a.m., Anna allegedly called for a rideshare to Boston's Logan Airport, claiming she had a work emergency to attend to. She was never seen again. Oddly, Brian did not immediately report Anna missing. Instead, he contacted her employer on January 4th, stating that he hadn't seen or heard from her in days. Alarmed, her boss filed a missing person report with the police. By that time, Anna had already been gone for 3 days. Investigators quickly discovered that Anna never boarded a flight from Logan Airport. Moreover, there was no evidence she had called for rideshare or even left the house, as Brian claimed. Authorities organized a thorough search around the couple's home in Cohasset, combing nearby areas for any trace of Anna. They also searched Anna's Washington property, where her car was found, unused. Surveillance of her financial and digital activities, including bank accounts, credit cards, social media, and phone records, revealed no activity after her disappearance. Attention soon turned to Brian, whose behavior and statements raised red flags. When questioned about his whereabouts in the days following Anna's disappearance, Brian claimed he had only taken his son to the Pressed Juice Bar in Norwell for a milkshake. However, this alibi unraveled when investigators uncovered surveillance footage placing Brian at multiple stores, including Home Depot, Lowe's, and CVS, in Rockland. His purchases included 5-gallon buckets, trash bags, cleaning supplies, a hacksaw, a hatchet, a hazmat suit, and other items commonly associated with cleaning or disposing of evidence. At the time, Brian was under house arrest for fraud charges stemming from an incident in which he sold a counterfeit Andy Warhol painting as an original. Although he was allowed to leave the house for essential errands, the nature of his purchases, such as a hacksaw and hazmat suit, seemed anything but essential. When confronted, Brian claimed he had been shopping for his mother, a story that investigators found implausible. Surveillance footage further implicated Brian. Hours after Anna's supposed departure for the airport, cameras captured him near a liquor store close to his mother's house. He was seen discarding large trash bags into a dumpster. A search of local dumpsters revealed disturbing evidence: a hacksaw, a hatchet, a piece of a rug, cleaning supplies, and trash bags containing biological material. Items belonging to Anna, including Prada boots, a Hermes watch, and a Gucci necklace, were also recovered. In the couple's home, investigators found more biological material in the basement, along with a blooded knife. The case against Brian grew stronger when investigators examined his son's iPad and discovered incriminating internet searches. These included phrases such as "how to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body." Brian's troubling history soon came to light. He had previously been diagnosed as a sociopath and spent time in a psychiatric hospital. He also had a documented history of financial deceit, including stealing nearly $800,000 from his father during a home refinancing deal. When his father passed away in 2018, Brian broke into his home, destroyed his father's will, and began selling off possessions. However, a friend of his father had taken a photo of the will, which excluded Brian from any inheritance. In addition to his history of fraud, Brian's violent temper was noted by those who knew him. A former friend recalled an incident in China where Brian attacked four guards who had caught him smuggling antiquities. Authorities now believe Brian murdered Anna around 4 a.m. on January 1, 2023, and disposed of her body shortly thereafter. He has been charged with murder, misleading police, and improper handling of a human body. Brian has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Anna's body has not been found, leaving her family and friends without closure. This haunting case remains a chilling reminder of how even those closest to us can harbor dark secrets. Catherine Holdsworth's disappearance remains one of the most puzzling, unsolved mysteries in recent years. At 72 years old, Catherine lived a quiet life in a small village near Halifax. She was a private, unassuming person, someone no one would have expected to vanish without a trace. But on September 8, 2017, Catherine disappeared, leaving her community and the authorities baffled. Catherine had numerous health challenges and relied on a walker to move around. That Friday, she had an appointment at a hospital, and it is widely assumed she returned home afterward. However, a week passed without anyone seeing her. Concerned neighbors, who knew Catherine kept to herself but still maintained a noticeable presence, alerted the police after realizing she hadn't been seen since that Friday. When authorities entered her home, they found no signs of a struggle, no unusual activity, and no clues about her whereabouts. It was as though Catherine had simply disappeared. To uncover answers, detectives scoured CCTV footage, hoping for any lead that could explain her sudden disappearance. The investigation unearthed a key piece of footage. Catherine was captured on CCTV the evening after her hospital visit, on September 9, 2017. She was seen shopping at a Tesco supermarket in Halifax town centre. In the video, she wore distinctive pink earmuffs, a dark coat, and pink gloves. Unfortunately, this was the last confirmed sighting of her. No further footage has been discovered to indicate where she went after leaving the store. On September 21, the police issued a public appeal for information, hoping someone might recognize Catherine or have details about her movements. She had connections to Blackpool and Cornwall, leading to speculation that she might have attempted to visit those areas. Despite repeated appeals and years of investigation, no new leads have emerged. One theory suggests that Catherine might have accidentally fallen into one of the waterways near her home. However, this seems unlikely. The waterways in her area are not easily accessible, particularly for someone with mobility issues. The canal near the hospital, though, is a possible exception. A short walk along the canal could have taken Catherine to Brighouse, another place where she had connections. It's conceivable that she was heading there when something tragic happened, such as a fall into the canal. Yet, no evidence supports this theory. Another issue complicating the investigation is the lack of additional CCTV footage. Catherine was not recorded on any other cameras after the Tesco visit. This might be due to a delay in obtaining footage or because whatever happened to her occurred shortly after she left the store. The lack of concrete evidence has left Catherine's disappearance shrouded in mystery. Her story remains unresolved, with her family and the community still seeking answers. Anyone with information about her case is encouraged to contact the authorities through the Calderdale Police on 101 or submit tips online. Catherine's disappearance is a poignant reminder of how fragile life can be, and how even the most ordinary moments can lead to inexplicable outcomes. In the early hours of October 15, 2016, 26-year-old Ketie Jones was tragically shot and killed while walking home. Ketie, a waitress at the Midwood Smokehouse in Charlotte, North Carolina, had been out with friends in the Plaza Midwood neighborhood, a trendy area known for its bars and nightlife. As the night ended, Ketie walked home alone, following her usual route along the 1300 block of the plaza toward Central Avenue. Her friends noted that it wasn't unusual for her to walk home late at night, as she only lived about a mile from the Midwood Country Club, the bar they had visited that evening. At 2:45 a.m., Ketie was almost halfway home when she was shot in the chest by an unknown assailant. Her body was discovered shortly afterward in the driveway of a real estate business. A nearby resident, who heard the gunshot, called the police, but they arrived too late to save her. The Charlotte Police's best lead is surveillance footage from a church across the street, which captures about a minute of Ketie walking by. Shortly after she passes out of frame, a car follows behind her. Police believe Ketie spoke with the occupants of the vehicle and that they are responsible for her murder. While some speculate it was an attempted robbery, Ketie had pepper spray, was walking in a well-lit area, and nothing was taken from her, including her phone and purse. Others think gang violence might have been involved, possibly as part of an initiation. At the same time, some friends believe the crime was not random, suggesting that someone offered her a ride home, and she declined, potentially triggering the violence. Despite these theories, the case remains unsolved, with no current suspects. Ketie's mother, Givona Livingston, has chosen to focus on her daughter's life rather than her tragic death. To honor Ketie's memory, her family and friends established a scholarship at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Ketie had been unable to continue her education due to financial constraints, so this scholarship aims to help others in similar situations. As Livingston stated, she wasn't able to stay in college because she didn't have the funding to continue, so for her to help somebody, that would be everything to her. I know she's smiling down. In August 2020, 41-year-old Jesus Moreno mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind a trail of questions and heartbreak. His case remains one of the most puzzling mysteries to date. Jesus was a co-worker at a brewery in Leeds, working closely with his friend, Marcos Ramirez. On the morning of August 1st, Jesus was expected to travel to Manchester for a business meeting. Instead, what unfolded has baffled investigators and left his loved ones searching for answers. The evening before his disappearance, Jesus had been out drinking and returned home around 11:30 p.m. Despite his late return, he stayed awake well into the early hours of the following day. On that Monday morning, a friend dropped him off in Leeds town centre. CCTV footage captured him wandering around the area after failing to get into a van. At 6:07 a.m., Jesus boarded a bus, marking the beginning of a journey that would soon become an unsolved enigma. For a few days, this bus ride was the last confirmed sighting of Jesus. However, appeals for information later led to more sightings being uncovered. He exited the bus about 30 minutes later on Herringate Road, an area near a car park that served as the closest access point to a popular swimming spot on the river wharf. CCTV footage at 8:14 a.m. showed Jesus near Harewood Bridge. The final piece of evidence was footage capturing him walking across a field on the Leeds side of the bridge. After that, Jesus seemed to vanish without a trace. Those who saw Jesus that day reported that he appeared to be in good spirits. Nothing seemed unusual about his behavior, except for the fact that he didn't have his phone with him. His business partner and friends were unable to explain why he would have been in that area when he was supposed to be heading to Manchester. It left investigators and loved ones wondering, what was Jesus doing near the river wharf? One theory suggests that Jesus may have intended to visit the popular swimming spot near the river to cool off before his trip to Manchester. It was a particularly hot period in the UK, and the idea of a refreshing swim may have been appealing. However, if that was the case, something may have gone tragically wrong. He could have become disoriented, had an accident, or gotten lost in the surrounding area. Yet, exhaustive searches of the river and nearby fields turned up no signs of Jesus or his belongings. Despite extensive investigations and appeals for information, the mystery of Jesus Moreno's disappearance remains unsolved. It has left his family, friends, and the community in a state of perpetual uncertainty. The lack of answers is particularly frustrating, given the seemingly ordinary circumstances surrounding his last movements. For months after his disappearance, the case continues to baffle those involved. Jesus' sudden and unexplained absence serves as a reminder of how quickly life can change, leaving only questions and what ifs. His loved ones continue to hold out hope for closure, whether it comes through new evidence or someone stepping forward with information. Until then, Jesus Moreno's story remains an unsettling mystery, one that haunts those who knew him and captivates those who hear about his case. 84-year-old Elena Roy and Chris Catallo, from Fallbrook, California, had been a couple for 14 years. On November 3rd, they got into an argument, after which Elena left their house around 1:30 p.m. to go for a walk and clear her head. Chris expected her to be gone for a short while, but when she failed to return, he became concerned and contacted the police to file a missing person report. He informed investigators that she would be turning 84 in a few days, and her family confirmed she wasn't in the habit of just disappearing. She was known to enjoy walking, but always returned home after about an hour. Worryingly, she also showed signs of dementia over the previous few years, adding further concerns for her safety. During their inquiries, investigators found surveillance footage from a grocery outlet store that showed Elena in the building, but added that the footage was taken on the day before she disappeared. As soon as news of Elena's disappearance became public, hundreds of volunteers aided in the search for her in and around Fallbrook, but no sign of her was found. As many as 60 search and rescue crews combed the area, with the help of a helicopter, but this also didn't provide any further clues, despite the search lasting 2 full days. Elena's bank accounts were monitored, but showed no activity. This was later discovered to be normal, since only Chris ever used the account to withdraw funds from time to time. Elena hadn't used the account for about 2 years. Her family stated that Elena was very close with them and that she wouldn't stay out of touch for so long without reason. They expressed their frustration with Chris since he only contacted them about the disappearance at 8:45 that evening, telling them they shouldn't panic. When asked why he waited so long, he could give no good explanation, other than he was driving around looking for Elena and finally decided to contact them when it started to get dark. They also found it strange that Chris let her walk away on her own, since he'd recently started accompanying her on her walks, due to her worsening condition. He also stated that he didn't contact anyone in the neighborhood while searching for her, since he didn't want to wake anyone up. It then came to light that Elena had been picked up by the side of the road by a fireman once in the past. He noticed her walking alone and took her to the sheriff's station, but when Chris came to collect her, he acted as if he didn't really care, which the fireman found suspicious. Chris has since stated that Elena had started distancing herself from the rest of the family, but they've denied these claims, stating that they were as close as they'd always been. 3 months later, Chris asked one of the family members to get her belongings, but when she did so, she realized that he was having a garage sale and had put many of Elena's belongings up for sale. The family also took exception to the fact that he kept referring to Elena in the past tense, and that he stated during an interview that he was thinking of relocating somewhere else, since there was now nothing keeping him in Fallbrook. A $10,000 reward is being offered to anyone who provides investigators with information leading to Elena being found. Anyone with such information can contact the San Diego Sheriff's Department Homicide Unit at 858-285-6286. Alternatively, you can contact their anonymous tip line at 888-580-8477. In 2014, police from the Isle of Wight, in the UK, appealed to the public to be on the lookout for a 53-year-old woman who had inexplicably gone missing. Over a decade later, she has still not been found. On June 7, 2014, Victoria Baily was known to have boarded the number 12 bus and travelled to an area called Freshwater, where she got off. This was evidenced by CCTV footage obtained from the bus after it became apparent that she had gone missing. In the clip, Victoria can be seen getting on the bus, paying her fare, and later leaving the bus and walking away on her own. She doesn't appear to be in any distress, making her disappearance all the more baffling. As soon as the police were made aware that Victoria had gone missing, a search was organized of the immediate area and the nearby ocean, but they were unsuccessful in locating her, despite continuing the search for several days. Investigators also released a photo of the model of cell phone she was carrying, a silver or black Samsung GTE 2550, but the phone has never been found. At 9:15 a.m. on June 19th, a witness contacted the police to report that they believed they had spotted Victoria walking on New Barn Road, heading towards York Avenue in East Cowes. The witness stated that the woman was wearing a purple blouse and black capri pants. This prompted another search of the area, but once again, no sign of Victoria was found, and it remains unknown whether she was the woman seen. People in the area were interviewed, but no one had seen the woman. Following this, Victoria's family made an urgent appeal to the public for any information on her whereabouts. It has been speculated that she walked to Tennyson Trail, a challenging 14-mile hike that stretches from Carysbrook to the Needles, though no evidence has ever been found that she entered the trail. Her sister, Lisa Lauren, made a public appeal directly to Victoria, asking her to contact her family so they could be assured she was doing fine. Lisa added that Victoria didn't have to disclose her location, but they desperately wanted to hear from her. With no further leads, the police asked other passengers on the number 12 bus that day to come forward with any information, such as where Victoria went after getting off the bus. They speculated that she might have spoken to a fellow passenger and mentioned her plans for the day. However, no one has come forward with additional information. Victoria was last seen wearing a beige jacket, a dark top, a scarf, blue jeans, and sunglasses. She was also carrying a backpack, and it is believed she may have changed her outfit since she was last seen. If you have seen Victoria or have any information on her case, you are urged to contact the Newport Police Station by dialing 101 and referring to case number 441 for 2577. Stephen Clark, a 54-year-old loving and caring father, was well liked in the community of Wareham, Dorset, England, where he lived with his family. Despite his cheerful disposition, Stephen had faced significant health challenges in recent years, having been diagnosed with Huntington's disease, a hereditary condition that progressively impairs brain function. His family noticed the disease affecting his memory and coordination, and did everything they could to ensure he led a happy and comfortable life. Panic set in for Stephen's family when he disappeared in late January 2023. On the morning of January 6, 2023, Stephen followed his usual routine. Witnesses reported seeing him in a shop in Wareham around 9 a.m. Later, locals spotted him outside the Garden Gate Tea Room at approximately 10:30 a.m. When Stephen failed to return home, his family became alarmed and contacted the Dorset police. Given Stephen's health conditions, the Dorset police quickly launched a search operation. CCTV footage revealed Stephen's last known movements, showing him walking down Bell's Orchard Lane at around 11:23 a.m. After this, he mysteriously vanished, and there have been no further sightings or communications from him since. The local community has shown immense support for Stephen's family. The Dorset Police, in collaboration with the Dorset Coast Guard, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, RNLI, and the Hampshire Search and Rescue Team, have conducted extensive searches. The Dorset Police suspect Stephen may have fallen into the River Frome or the River Piddle, and both rivers have been thoroughly searched, but to no avail. To uncover any possible clues, the Dorset Police are now appealing to motorists who were in Wareham on January 6 to review their dashcam footage. Over 400 homes and properties have been searched to find Stephen, yet leads have yet to emerge. Stephen Clark is described as a white male with brown hair, standing 5 feet 1 inch tall, of slim build, and using a golden walking stick. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Dorset Police on 101, quoting case number 5523001 for 390.